Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the panel discussion, How Digitalization in Construction is Helping Sustainability Goals. I'm Richard Engelkes, Senior Market Advisor at Enterprise Island in Amsterdam, and I'm your moderator for this afternoon session. First, I would like to welcome the panel, Lex Coors of Interxion, Alan Clinton of Mercury Engineering, and Dave Sterlace of ABB. So can you please introduce yourself, gentlemen, and starting with Lex. Unmute, please, Lex.
Yes, that's a habit now. Thank you. So my name is Lex Coors. I'm the Chief Data Center Technology and Engineering Officer for Interxion. Basically, I'm now reporting into a global organization, into Anthony Carruccino, who's leading this whole effort. I'm 21 years with the company. Sustainability has always been highly on my agenda, energy efficiency as well. And we are taking action on those parts already since 2003. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lex. Alan, can you please introduce yourself?
Hi, Richard, and thanks for having me on the panel today. I'm Alan Clinton, Operations Director for Mercury within the Data Center Division. We recognised a number of years ago that digitalisation within our business, and in particular the data centre industry, was changing fast. So we set up a committee for this, and the transformation within our business was led from top down, so we could evolve and adapt to the needs of our clients and the needs of our business. The construction industry has changed its ways of working through digitalization, from digital platforms for document control to design simulations to other digital applications that we use for the project lifecycle. So we're effectively using the cloud to build the cloud. So all of these systems are ensuring we're sustainable as a business, but also achieving sustainability goals. So digitalization in construction is certainly helping achieve sustainable goals, and I'm looking forward to answering questions today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alan. And Dave, last but not least, can you introduce yourself?
Thank you, Richard. Yes, Dave Sterlace with ABB. I'm the Global Head of Technology for our Data Center Solutions team. I've been with ABB for 20 years now. Our primary focus is electrical infrastructure, and we try to build smart, scalable, safe, and sustainable infrastructure. And to that end, we've come up with a plan we call Digital Data Center Operations. And we've seen tremendous strides in terms of how digitalization is affecting our industry and what we can do to help our clients and partners really take full advantage of the technology available.
Thank you very much, Dave. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for participation in this panel session. To you all, we will have a Q&A session in the end. So please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. We are in rural times at this moment when you look at data center developments. With carbon emissions, the look and feel of the big box discussion in the Netherlands, the energy usage, sustainable data centers, and the goals. And of course, COVID. Lex, Alan, and Dave, can you tell us what COVID did to your company, starting with Lex?
Well, let me first take it more in general. COVID obviously has left a terrible trail of pain and misery and loneliness to the whole planet. But for the company itself, we are in an IT environment. So the whole IT industry is even increasing faster and faster. For my group, for instance, I have always been promoting, at least for 3 or 4 years, to decrease travel. Also the travel budgets. It was always hard because it was always necessary to travel. And now suddenly overnight we are forced to not travel anymore. And we have adjusted and adapted. And actually we see benefits here as well. So we help to cool down the planet as we speak now, because we cannot travel that much anymore. So yeah, I think it has also a positive angle to the misery it creates.
Thank you, Lex. And Alan, can you briefly describe?
COVID-19, I suppose for Mercury, it has changed the way we do our business in many ways. We've approximately 2,600 direct employees within our organization, and all of which were affected by this pandemic, in some way or another, with lockdowns or sickness or working away from their family. So ensuring the welfare of our staff was number one, while ensuring we maintained operations in a safe manner or a safe environment. I feel that the pandemic has brought us closer together as an organization. And what I mean by that is our CEO and executive management team, they've reached out to everybody within our organization through virtual meetings. And this gives a lift to everybody in the company. Digitalization has played its part. In fact, the pandemic by default has accelerated the use of digital platforms. The requirement for remote meetings, virtual site walks, or virtual site tours, virtual quality inspections, off-site manufacturing. This has increased during this time. Fortunately, the cloud was there to assist us through this. So as a business, and like most organizations, we have been affected. But as Lex said about the positives, we have taken positives from this. And one thing we've learned is not to take things for granted. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. And Dave, what does it do for ABB?
Well, I fully agree with what the other panelists have said. It's been a tremendous change in terms of how we manufacture. We're a global manufacturer, so we've been able to come back to life in areas. There's no place where we've been unchanged in terms of things. Being part of a remote team for many years now. We've always stressed culture through virtual meetings and things, and that's been one of the issues that's been a little perhaps a challenge for my colleagues who work in manufacturing and things, is to keep the culture alive and vibrant. But to Lex's point, we've also come up with by necessity some very positive changes in terms of things like factory acceptance tests and things where it used to be all done in person, and you had to go to our location or a client's location. We've been able to do that visually with video and live oscilloscope traces, et cetera, where needed. And it's really become a boon to us, and it's become very efficient. And I do think we've made some strides to reducing due to necessity, reducing travel, which will probably make a lasting impact on how we go to market and how we participate in the market. And to both the other points, it's easier to that because we had to take a pause, it really gave us an opportunity, and we have to look at it as such, to really examine what we were doing, how we can do it better, how we can do it more efficiently. And that's really what's happened here at ABB.
Yeah, Dave, and that's a very good point, especially on commissioning and remote commissioning. The flexibility of the factories, we see, the willingness to support and making it all available. There's still some way to go. It's still not completely perfect. We have the cameras, but you want to have all the gouges available as well, and basically being able, as if you are on site, to tune everything you want to know to see what's the impact. But it's a very, very good point you raised there. It's extremely important what's happening on that point as well. Yeah.
Well, thank you all. So a lot of positive and negative news around COVID and developments also, and you see that there's a lot of changes and awareness around carbon dioxide because you see changes. there's a lot of news around, say, energy usage and sustainability of data centers. Also this morning, Lex, what is your thought on this?
Yeah, well, thank you for asking me that question. You know, our industry takes sustainability serious, basically as a group, a corporate social responsibility. That's what I see. It's not that one of the data center is not interested to use sustainable energy. Is basically everyone. And I must say, 4 years ago, when let's say the president of the US was elected, and he basically stopped all the sustainability programs. It didn't make any difference because all the large hyperscale companies, they simply continued their program. And that helped us to actually achieve our goals. If you look, for instance, at the Green Deal, which says about 52% by 2030 on sustainable energy, for our industry, it will be 100%. And actually, this morning, and I'm so glad that Stein had the honor of announcing the EU DCA self-regulatory framework, because Stein has been instrumental in, let's say, making this happen, because Stein has been able to kind of unite the European NTAs and work with them together, where the EU DCA had proposed a self-regulatory framework. It is only as strong as it is supported by the whole of Europe. And Stein has done a major effort in this, and that's why I was very proud and happy to see that he did the announcement. The self-regulatory framework is important. It shows our corporate social responsibility on sustainable energy and the decrease of carbon emissions, because we have the support from the EU in this, and we will show the EU that basically we do not only work to the 100%, but we also support the EU in consultations where we explain the difficulties around the way it has to be achieved. Because the forecast, for instance, for 2050 is that there is only 50% sustainable energy. So imagine if we would use the 100% in our ever-growing market for now, there will not be enough either for all of us or not for the other parties if we would take everything the other industries. So I think there's a lot to do. We support the EU, let's say, in ideas and also in painting the picture and also making the problem statements clear for them. So yeah, that's where we are on this.
Thank you very much, Lex. Sustainability is getting more and more, say, embedded also in the corporate values of different, of basically all the companies, and the self-regulatory framework is another tool to do so. Dave, can you tell me what the corporate goals are for sustainability for ABB?
Well, as a general statement, I'd like to, I'm in violent agreement with Lex that, first of all, the industry itself is leading the way, did not abandon our goals based on regulations in US or lack of regulation. So I think, first of all, that's very important that we're already set and going in that direction. Now at ABB, we have programs involved. The first most interesting one is something we call Mission to Zero, where we're going to have zero carbon manufacturing for all our products, and we've already have it in some manufacturing plants, specifically Germany, and a couple in Southeast Asia as well. And as that continues, we'll see a very, obviously that's very positive for us. And over time, what's changed is coming in the power industry, we tend to, a lot of our discussion was previously based around energy efficiency, which of course is one piece of the puzzle, but also now we're looking at the whole cycle, and all our new products and all our new development is being designed around that total life cycle optimization, what we can do with that. And that's where I think folks like us, it can make a big difference. And we were talking earlier about the reduction of travel. That also changed how we ship things as well. For example, expedited shipping and air freight have vastly changed from a year ago, just because there's no passengers on planes and things. So we've had to build depots and things in a different way in order to meet the needs of our clients, and also to be more smart about how we do it, which leads to better sustainability as well.
Thank you very much, Dave. Sustainability, it's not only related to the reduction of energy usage or the reuse of residual heat, but also on the reduction of carbon emissions generated during the construction process. Using the cloud to make the cloud. So Mercury uses many digital tools for the construction of data center projects. Alan, can you explain what the impact of these tools has for your projects in relation to the reduction of carbon dioxide and waste within the whole process?
Yeah, okay. So we've rolled out a number of initiatives across our entire business, on reducing the carbon footprint. And it's something we invest heavily in. As Lex is on the panel here, since the first day I met Lex some years ago, he's always talked about, reducing the carbon footprint. He's provided us with lots of advice and education from a client's perspective. So we use many platforms, and they all play a different role in the sustainability world. When we talk about reducing the carbon footprint, we always think of the operational side of the data center and being more efficient and reducing energy. And sometimes I think we confuse efficiency with sustainability. But prior to the operational part of the data center, you have the construction. And prior to the construction, you have the design. And I'm, at the design stage, for example, the embodied carbon can be reduced with good decision making, because if not, and the building's built, then the embodied carbon is there forever. So during the design stage, we use various tools, for design platforms, for airflows and energy management. But in addition to this, we're starting to use digital systems to measure the embodied carbon. There's a system out there to calculate this. It's called EC3. EC3, yeah. It's mainly for the US market, but it's now in Europe. Mercury are about to become a pilot partner for this. And what it does, it takes the data sheets, it's an environmental data sheet or an environmental declaration. They add the data into the software and it calculates the embodied carbon. So it's a good method of identifying, early in the design process, so the correct decisions can be made and embodied carbon can be reduced. So that's at the sort of the start of the life cycle of the project. Then when we go into the construction stage, we use various different digital platforms. We use a system called BIM 360. It's a single digital platform. It's a document control system. We use it for the entire project life cycle, from design through to construction, handover, and operations. It ensures full transparency, but it also reduces the use of paper, and it reduces resources required during the validation process, because you used to get the documents, you print off, you scan, or you mark up, you scan, you upload them. It was, wasting a lot of time, but also using a lot of paper. And the other nice piece on the BIM 360 is the BIM 360 field, which we use for quality control and benchmarks and snagging. And again, this reduces paper, but more importantly, reduces the reworks and reduces waste. So that's a system how we reduce waste on site. And then I'll just give you a brief overview on the planning. We use planning tools, Primavera P6, and that links into a new system that we're using. It's the latest in planning technology. It's called Synchro 4D planning. And what that does, it links the BIM model with the construction schedule. And there are lots of benefits for this. You know, it's providing full visual. You know, you can see a visual of the program in the model. It's better for reporting progress. But most importantly, the key function of this is the procurement process is streamlined, allowing for just-in-time deliveries for the exact known quantities. Again, reducing waste and reducing transportation. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the interesting things around Mercury was very early they made a transformation to digitization of their whole company. You know, everything they had was structured in software, where we're still working with other contractors. They were still working on Excel files, you know, and that had their issues. You couldn't find it back, so you had to travel sometimes to actually find out where it was. And that's definitely a big thing. The other thing that Alan actually did not mention, Alan, is Paris 9. So we agreed that we will start now the very early steps in, let's say, zero waste.
Yeah.
Zero waste is a journey. It's not easy. It looks easy, you know, like, okay, you recycle everything. But it really goes back to also the things like, how do you source people? Is it from the area? Will they come closer? You know, what is the way? And how will we measure that? You know, what will be the data points that we will measure, and how will we measure? But we have agreed to start on this. It's an important step forward in the whole sustainability chain. And I'm really looking forward, and I'm happy to do it together with Mercury, because they are already so advanced on all their software programs they use.
Yeah, and just on that, Lex, these systems, it's a collaborative approach with, you know, the contractor, the client, the vendors, the consultants. Everybody needs to buy into these systems for them to work. And obviously, Interxion have, and you know, we're working together on, as Lex said, on this part of his job, and we have a set of KPIs that we want to achieve at the end of the job, and we're working with a great local French Interxion team, and we're very supportive of the process. So it's something we're really looking forward to.
Yeah, just to chime in, the tools that are used by folks like Mercury have just really changed how we approach the data center market in general. And it's I've said to this group before, you know, it's you know, a mouse click versus a sledgehammer on site, and the planning tools especially are just tremendous in terms of what you can see where you should be on a certain date. They help we vendors schedule things in the right way. In the audience, I'm sure we all know that the data center's never been too early, you know, in terms of opening up. So we're always under some definite time pressure. And just to touch on efficiency in terms of the manufacturing process, one thing we've done is digitalize products that were think of something basic like medium voltage switchgear. We actually have digitalized ABB term ourselves, whereas the actual the protection and control functions are fully built over TCP/IP networks. The sensing mechanisms are now no longer a analog transformer. They're all based on our process industry sensors. So it's a safer signal, low power signals, or blue hose, as we like to call it, or fiber optics. What that's really done in terms of commissioning and startup, first of all, the devices are now scalable, whereas it used to be an analog device, a transformer, you would have to wind a new one, which, you know, is it's a tedious process. We went from 7,000 varieties down to 7 in terms of what our options could be for medium voltage around the world, and also using fiber optic networks and truly open protocols like IEC 62150 has allowed us to reduce wiring interconnect by 90% in some cases. So So the wires not only are far fewer, they also self-identify, I'm connected to the right spot, I'm connected here, is that where I'm supposed to be, et cetera, which has reduced commissioning time, et cetera. We've looked at some examples, both in data centers and elsewhere, where we've commissioning used to be literally man months or man years, depending on how complex the project was, and we've been able to reduce that significantly. So that's another benefit that's coming from this collaboration, and folks like Interxion and Mercury are leading us into this direction, and I think we're all gaining from this, and this is really what points to a bright future indeed.
To put some kudos back here, Dave, in all fairness, I think that the industry and the vendors, they have taken the lead in going towards this zero carbon in their production processes. So I think that's one of the things that really helps us. But that was definitely, we were not that far. We were still, at the early stages of how will we get there, what will we do. Also on, let's say, as I mentioned, on the zero waste. But I think that the vendors took the lead in, let's say, going to zero emissions for the production process.
Yeah, that's one of the questions that I've received now also from the audience. So, do designers and construction companies consider the carbon footprint of the equipment manufacturers and the production facilities? So how do you look at it?
Yeah, we are now more and more, because we dealt with scope 1 and 2, and now we are looking at scope 3. The scope 3 of the carbon emissions, and this identifies, let's say, the type of material. Is it less carbon or carbon zero? And the production processes, everything around that. Yes, it's an important topic for us, at least. We use 100% sustainable energy already in the scope 1. We deal with the scope 2, and let's say this scope 3 is important. It's the next step, the big next step.
Right.
I fully understand it. You see it in other, say, sectors as well. So in printing, for example, in printing machines, where you look at the whole supply chain and say, okay, what is your carbon dioxide footprint, and how does it work, and how do you move on? And another interesting question that we received from the audience is in relation to renewable energy. Does the panel see a future for hydrogen fuel cells powering the data centers of the future?
I can answer that, obviously, because so the issue we have to deal with, the problem we have to deal with, is green hydrogen. As long as we use fossil fuels to burn hydrogen, to create hydrogen, is just another step in, let's say, losses. Because you have to convert from gas to hydrogen and then hydrogen to electricity. In that case, I would say possibly hydrogen is a little less efficient than direct gas. On the other hand, hydrogen can work perfectly as energy storage, green hydrogen at least. There we have to deal with two topics. One is storage of hydrogen. If you want to store large capacities of hydrogen in urban areas, they will not welcome you too much. So that's something we have to deal with. But the other problem, which is actually even bigger, is the transport of hydrogen through the gas lines. So we are currently looking at, can we use our gas distribution network for the distribution of hydrogen? And the answer is no. At least no, not for now. Because gas have polluted the gas pipe system in such a way, because hydrogen needs to be extremely clean. Otherwise, you do very short time with your fuel cells if you want to use it for fuel cells. So yes, hydrogen will take an important place. Hydrogen is coming up. Green hydrogen is the message. Otherwise we keep dealing with lower carbon. And I think that for 2030, I think we need to speed up to go to sustainable green hydrogen. That's my view.
Yeah, for sure, Lex, and the electrolyzers are the issues currently. I think we have to be pragmatic and look at this all as a journey. I definitely fully agree that we should probably look at speeding this up somehow. Take some tremendous technology investments. I know many folks, yourself as a leader, are certainly considering this, and we're looking into it as well. Obviously, nobody wants a big pile of diesel generators in the backyard that leak and pollute with the black smoke. So, but they serve a purpose, and but we need to really step up efforts to get this going. And we're looking at a bunch of different technologies. I mean, there's been changes in energy storage. We've heard from some different ideas around battery technology, et cetera. But I think if we can get the hydrogen economy going the way we want to, have green hydrogen, that's going to just really be tremendous for all of us.
Well, thank you very much. It's indeed a very interesting topic. There's a lot of news around it in the Netherlands and developments in for example, in Groningen, the North 2 project. So maybe not for now, but maybe for the future. Another question from the audience. Dave, how are ABB evolving protection? Is solid state switching the new tomorrow?
Well, that's a great question, and thank you. So essentially, in data centers, we have equipment that's ideally I supply a switchgear to Lex. He rolls it in, he turns it on, and then he doesn't have to deal with it till end of life, right? So actually, lack of use in data center makes the electromechanical device perhaps not as reliable. Will it open when we want it to? And do I have to inspect it periodically? Do I have to grease it? It's an electromechanical device. With solid state, of course, all that is not required. And we've had some very, very interesting developments lately. Last year at Hanover Messe, we introduced for grid edge protection a true solid state circuit breaker. And one of the benefits of that is from power systems design, you can actually tailor the fault current on things. This reacts so quickly in terms of microseconds versus milliseconds, so hundreds of times faster, that the interrupting capacity on it, or the short circuit, it could be installed basically anywhere on a grid in the nation, and you never have to worry about things like that. So very promising in terms of what we can do. And then you can also, let's say we had both a utility connected and a hydrogen fuel cell power source. We could, as we switch, we could change the parameters of the device as we go. So it could allow you to have a much leaner infrastructure, which is really what I think everybody's looking for. Years ago, we had 2N plus systems, and we skinnied them up, let's say, in terms of what it looks like. And this is definitely a path in the future to become more efficient, to allow it to be tailored for the specific area, fuel, time, et cetera, use that you're using. So I think, yeah, solid state is the future in this. Gains in power electronics have been tremendous. And folks like us are continuing to invest in this because we see this as absolutely a necessary technology that could really change things.
Thank you very much. Mercury works with multiple subcontractors and vendors during the realization of new data center projects. Alan, can you explain what the issues are you encounter?
The issues, we don't encounter any issues. No, I'm only kidding. Our projects are vastly spread across Europe, so the issues we encounter. So I suppose the first issue is cultural differences, and the way we overcome this is, we are geo-resilient in almost every country we work in. We've a mix of local and non-local staff. And this is a good blend for us to, integrate with the local supply chain. The other issues we've encountered is our clients' demands are the same in every country, but not every country operate in the same way. And what I mean by that is, you know, in some countries you have cultural differences, working hours, safety, compliance, also methods of engineering, methods of construction. And to ensure our clients' expectations are met, we rely on our experience, obviously, and the digital platforms that, you know, I mentioned earlier on. And apart from that, you know, the other issues is the usual stuff: coordination, lead times of equipment. They won't like me saying that. Waste management, and these are all dealt with through detailed planning, good communication, and of course the digital platforms. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Dave, we already tipped on it. With all the COVID and all the restrictions, there are, say, additional challenges with on-site testing. How does ABB manage witness testing basically all over the globe where you are?
So again, we've been able to go to virtual witness testing in many cases. On-site testing, we do have to dispatch people if the client desires that way. What has changed, Richard, is at one time we would have and this is again, this is a benefit we've seen from this whole crisis, was we'd have a factory witness test. Then we'd have shipped to an integrator, perhaps if we were putting it in a specialty like an e-house or something. So then we'd have another witness test there. Then we'd have a pre-commissioning test, and then we'd have a commissioning test and final acceptance test. So we would really test the same thing 4 times, which is grossly inefficient. And in fact, in some candid conversations with some of our clients, they said essentially, just ship the darn thing. We'll fire it up at the end. If it works, great. If it doesn't, we'll fix it. But that'll save us so much time and effort and travel and money and et cetera, that we've been able to. Of course, it was in jest. Nobody actually does that, but it was just a thought. But it really opened our eyes in terms of how things need to be done. And then again, with the crisis, when we've been able to adapt to that and have this virtual testing, which eliminates a couple of those stages, which has resulted in much more efficiency for us and much less waste in terms of time and efforts of people.
Oh, thank you, Dave. A question, another question that basically also popped up because of the climate neutral data center pact that was announced this morning. Is this going to increase, say, the fixed collaborations between all the partners when constructing a data center? And is then the digitization also a main player to manage and measure everything?
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's for sure. So first of all, if you, as I just mentioned, announce that you will go to zero waste, zero carbon, then you need to work together with each other. So it not only will be, it is part of the review of the companies that we work with, you know. What do they do? What is their social corporate responsibility? What is their vision, mission? You know, how they look at sustainability? How do they look at energy efficiency? All of those topics, yes, that's definitely a part that we look at. Also for our vendors, definitely, yes. So, and you have to work together because you have the companies like Mercury who build the data center for you. You have the vendors who need to supply the equipment, and then you have also you need to have the customers that also support and drive you into this direction. Because if the customers would not, let me say it this way, don't give a shit, you know, then it would not look that brilliant. You know, it is good that we have so many customers who basically have more than the half of the capacity that we need, who demand sustainability and all of these topics. So the customers are equally important to this whole process.
I understand. Can you make it mandatory to customers in co-location data centers? Can you make it mandatory that they comply with, say, the self-regulatory framework? Set something up on a contractual basis and say, okay, yeah, if you put in your own server racking, this is what we want. Is that feasible?
It takes time. If you look, for instance, at 2008, we started with cold out containment, mandatory. If you see how much back pressure we got, that's not necessary and there's not that big difference. Now it's a common thing. So it doesn't start, it starts with a direction. It starts with a vision, then a direction, and then an implementation. The vision and the direction is there. And now we are, let's say, at the start of the implementation. Self-regulatory framework, first we need to create the awareness because most of our customers are not even aware of this. Education, towards EU, education towards customers. Those things are key in the process of achieving what you have to achieve, basically a carbon neutral world sooner rather than later.
Yeah, thank you. And Alan, in relation to the self-regulatory framework and the larger focus on sustainability, is this driving innovation and digitalization even more than what you already do for your clients? Do you need to go into new innovative solutions?
Yeah, well, I mentioned earlier on about the embodied carbon, and this is something now we've started looking into, or we're working through. The likes of off-site manufacturing, reduce transportation to site, reduce the number of staff on site, reduce the waste on site. These are all things we're doing, and digitalization has obviously a big part to play in that. We've many systems on across our business. We've implemented them, and it's all mainly for us on the construction. We used to focus on the construction piece and the waste, and the off-site manufacturing, and now we're going back looking at the designs and what influence we can have at the design stage, say with our clients and with the vendors, and specifying the correct materials at that stage. So that's where we see a shift now, is at the design stage, and the influence we can have there.
And Richard, one big topic towards, let's say, a sustainable industry is one nut that has not been cracked yet, and that is large-scale, long-term energy storage. So, for instance, we're looking at, people are talking about lithium-ion batteries. But I personally do not see that as a good means for long-term, large-scale. Large-scale, yes, but long-term, not. We're not talking about 2 days energy storage here. That's not feasible with those programs, not at 100 megawatt. So we are looking at things like a liquid metal battery, from a guy called Dr. Donald Sadoway from MIT. He has developed a very low-cost type of battery. It's a solid battery. He calls it liquid battery. It's not really liquid, but it's less liquid. It started really liquid. We look at liquid oxygen and liquid nitrogen energy storage. Those kind of things pop up to my mind when we look at, let's say, these important topics. And I haven't seen, first of all, enough awareness by the EU. So the EU has not launched massive programs towards universities to support them in investigating this. And I think this is really needed to achieve the goals that we need to achieve.
Yeah, fully agree, Lex. And there's some other technologies around battery storage that are interesting. And just for the audience sake, we ABB have worked on both battery energy storage systems and how they can become more interactive with the grid for data centers. But just a gentle reminder that still the best technology is pumped hydro for that. I mean, it's simple, it's location dependent, but imagine a solar farm pumping hydro up a hill in the morning and letting it down in the evening to run stuff. There's certainly lots of ways to approach that, and I think the next few years will be very exciting in terms of what we can solve. But yeah, that I anticipate and I'm sure you do too, Lex and Alan, a black swan event around energy storage that's really going to change things for all of us and help us get to where we need to be in terms of sustainability for data centers.
Well, thank you,
Right.
gentlemen, also because of time. I guess we're still in an ongoing process around digitalization and sustainability. Partnering and awareness is key, especially when you talk about the climate neutral data center pact. I would like to thank the panel, Lex, Dave, and Alan for your insights, and wish everybody a further good day. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Bye
it.
bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.